Hello and welcome to our presentation, How to Increase Engagement in a Hyflex Class. I'm Sachiko Nakagome.
And I'm David LaHeist.
Now, David and I both teach at universities in the Kanto area. We've both taught Hyflex or hybrid lessons in academic year 2021. I've taught about 40 lessons. David has taught about 150. Now, we're going to start with definitions. What exactly is Hyflex? In Japanese, we call it mikusugata. Now, I hear a lot of people using the words hybrid and hyflex interchangeably, but there's a slight difference. So in hybrid, the students don't have a choice. All the students are either in the classroom with the teacher or everybody is online. It's usually one or the other. They don't get to choose, which is the key point. Some universities, for social distancing reasons, will appoint half the class to be on campus 1 week and the other half of the class to be online for social distancing. But the key point here is the students don't get to choose. Whereas Hyflex, the students get to choose. The teacher is typically in the classroom. Some students show up in the classroom. Some people attend online. It's really flexible. Therefore, you never know how many students are going to show up where. Our first message is don't fear Hyflex. I hear a lot of teachers thinking, oh no, we have to prepare 2 different lessons. We advise not to do that. We would say, prepare for an online lesson and then make sure that the classroom students can take part in the activities. It's a lot easier that way, but make sure that everything, the handouts and the activities are equally accessible for the classroom students and online students, and that it's easy for them to see. For example, for my classroom students, sometimes I give paper handouts of what I'm going to be showing on the screen, because in the classroom, the display is a little bit difficult to see. Another message is you don't need to learn new apps or new software to do Hyflex teaching. Just use the techniques that the tools that you already know, but use it in a different way. Okay. Now, why do we do this? Why do we do Hyflex? Obviously, right now during COVID, we have to for social distancing reasons or to keep 6 students off campus. But there's another benefit. We can help give education to underserved communities, students living with immunocompromised family members, people who can't afford rent. I had international students who couldn't get into Japan because of the COVID measures or visa problems. Also, it's useful for emergency situations. I've had students zooming in from the hospital room because they had COVID or they had other surgery. I also had a snowstorm that was really bad that caused train delays one day. 1/3 of the class could not make it to campus. So I just said, hey, join us on Zoom. And the 10 students were able to continue their education on Zoom. It's very useful. As I said, the ratio between online students and classroom students can really vary. It's Hyflex because the students get to choose. It could be 2% online, could be 50% online. You just have to be prepared for both. Now, my biggest fear when I did Hyflex was that the students online would feel alone or ignored. And I tried my best, I really did, to make sure that they didn't. But despite all that, my efforts, in my survey of 18 students, 3 students still felt ignored. Ouch. Another common complaint that I had was that online students cannot hear the students in the classroom. So we came up with some solutions. The audio problem. Now, mind you, during COVID, we cannot physically pass around the mic in the classroom because of, virus issues. So what we suggest is placing the microphone in the middle of students, not in front of the teacher, because a teacher can always speak louder, right? We want to catch the students' voices. Another option is get all the classroom students to log into Zoom, and when they speak up, just unmute and talk into their mics. That is the clearest way. Another thing I did was I would orally or visually summarize what the classroom students said. I might type it in the Zoom chat. I might put it in the shared document, or I might just narrate, say, oh, so Shinpei's main points were A, B, and C. Oh, look how sad this cat looks.
So sad.
You don't want your students to feel this way. So what can we do? So a few things. Make sure you don't skip any of the students online. So go through the students in methodically, either using the student roster or a randomized Excel sheet. Another thing you can do, face the classroom camera towards the students, not your face. Let the students see their classmates so they feel that they're in the classroom. Another thing I did was I would describe nonverbal cues. Like I would ask a question and I'd say, oh, some classroom kids are nodding, 3 people raised their hand. That really helps, I think.
One of the things that we have to consider is that we have to really check understanding frequently. Those online students, we can't see their faces as frequently or as well. They're not right in front of us. So it's a little bit harder to kind of get the nuance about whether or not they understand what we're talking about. So we really have to check understanding frequently. The best thing that I've found is making a 1-question quiz in your LMS, your Moodle, Manaba, or even Google Classroom. They're already pretty much on the computer, everybody. And so it doesn't take that much time to just quickly answer the question. In the case of Moodle and Manaba, it will export the results into an Excel worksheet. So it's easy for me to take the names off, randomize that. And then I can just show all of the answers in front of the class and give feedback on each person's answer. Now, when you randomize, take the names off and give feedback, a few things happen. Number one, they get some context. They can see how much do the other students really understand. You know, sometimes it's my fault. Sometimes I didn't explain it well enough. But sometimes they can also see, well, I'm the only one who doesn't get it. You know, but the other really important thing is when I'm giving feedback to everybody, in front of everybody, it's no longer criticism. They really sincerely understand that this is feedback. I'm just trying, I don't care who wrote what, right? I don't even look at that. I'm just interested in giving feedback to everybody that everybody understands this is a good idea, that is a bad idea. Here's a little example of, where I'm randomizing the answers about why they think a certain source is an appropriate source for the academic writing course or not. Another thing that I've done to kind of check understanding is instead of saying, please, any questions? And nobody will ask a question, right? But if you say, well, send me questions in private message, or even better, okay, by private message, please tell me the hardest part for you to understand. Now, they might not have a question, but everybody has a hardest part for them to understand. So if you tell them that and then kind of wait a few moments and then say, oh, yes, I see somebody in the chat says that they don't understand about this. I'm lying. I'm totally telling a lie, but this invites other people. Oh, people are asking questions. I guess I'll ask mine. There's a psychological element to that. So definitely try lying about private messages that actually aren't there. The biggest thing that we need to do in our online classes is build rapport. It's so hard for the classes to really build rapport with each other, treat each other like family when they're only online. They're just an image online to the other students sometimes. And so we need to make time for icebreaker activities, right? We need to keep those groups small, especially at the beginning. And we need to encourage some self-expression. And then after we've built rapport, after we've got something kind of going on in the classroom, then we can ask these meaningful questions that have some emotional content, and then after they've got rapport, they can enjoy things more. They enjoy all the activities because they're doing it with their friends, right? We have to, make that emotional content more interesting. They'll share, oh, I broke up with somebody, when it's in a blog or a shared diary, all of these communications become really meaningful. But the biggest, most important part of rapport with the online students and the classroom students is that they'll ask each other questions in the chat, right? That private chat to each other is the main avenue by which the students will help each other understand content. So if a student is just typing or whatever on their computer, I'm going to assume that they're helping each other out. And it's better for me to not, as long as we all understand the purpose of what we are trying to accomplish. They want to be great at English. I want them to be great at English. As long as we're all focused on that purpose, they'll be pretty much focused on getting there together, right? Challenge is another thing that really helps the classes go really well. Here in this case, on the left, you can see an activity that I had done for years. These old cards, they're just kind of moving the adjectives under the categories which they represent. These are adjectives to describe restaurants, and these are adjectives to describe weather. Very, straightforward sort of exercise. The online students, what I did is I had them color code them by using the Zoom annotate feature. A little bit very difficult actually for them. And you can see some of the circles are perfect and some of the circles are kind of open, and they're having a lot of trouble with it. There's a strange red, but you know what? Them having that trouble together, making these random lines sometimes on there, that's fun. And that gives them a little bit more energy to pursue it. They were laughing and giggling and enjoying themselves. I could have made this a Google form. I could have made this into a worksheet that was easy to access and easy to do, but then it just would have not been as fun. So try not necessarily doing it the easiest way, but find that Goldilocks zone of not too easy, but not too hard. Let's talk about ultimate sharing mode.
Okay, so I'm going to open up this shared Google document that you can share with your students really easily. You just click on the share button, 교유, click the link, and you put it in the Zoom chat, as I will do right now. Now, with this, all the students online or in the classroom can access this. Imagine 30 students answering and typing into a Google Doc at the same time to a prompt question. What did you do today? Dave is writing, I gave a presentation. Dave was great. Awesome. Everybody can see that. Everyone can also see the teacher going in and making edits. I'm going to say that Sachiko was great. So sorry, Dave, but all the students can see how the teacher edits a mistake in the sentence. You can also use this to have students report to you how they're doing in the breakout rooms. So, and make sure you clarify online room 1, classroom group 1. They can give you updates. They can summarize what they discussed. And this way, you don't have to go into every single breakout room to see where they're at. Okay, especially if you have like 20 breakout rooms, then it becomes a nightmare. This is much easier. Another thing my students love doing was shared diaries. So we pick the students pick a topic, usually something fun, and one person writes an entry. Sachiko wrote, I got my driver's license. I am a dangerous driver. I didn't write that. And then, so this part is homework. Everybody writes their diary at home. And then during class hour, everybody goes in, reads a classmate's diary entry and makes a comment. So Yuto's comment is congrats, okay? And I did this in a lot of classes. It really built rapport. It gave them chances to vent about the multiple assignments and the homework and to share joys in life. And you can allow students to post pictures, post URLs to their favorite YouTube channels. It really, really, really brought the class together. So I really recommend this. Okay, another thing we can do on a shared document is have a race. All right, David, do you want to come up with a topic?
Okay, so we have to race on this topic. We have to find as many words as we can in 10 seconds. Okay, but you can't write any words that your partner has already written. Today's category is types of tea. Ready?
What do you mean by key?
Tea. Like
tea. Okay, tea. Gotcha.
You ready?
Okay, ready?
Okay, and go.
Okay. Nothing is coming to me.
And stop. Oh, we got a 3-3 tie. Anyway, they can see that kind of game.
This was really difficult for both of us. No, but we both wrote Earl Grey. Oh, no, you
but I wrote it first and you wrote it second, so you have to take yours off. I win. I win.
You are the tea connoisseur. So this is another cool thing. And imagine 30 kids racing against each other, or you can do team competitions using this. So this is just one way of using a common knowledge, commonly used tool, but in a different way, right? Okay, let's go back to the slide. Oops.
Okay, so I'm going to give you some tips about Zoom, and I'm focusing on Zoom because Google Meet generally imitates Zoom, and there's a few other classroom software out there, but we don't really, I haven't been familiar with, I am not familiar with them, so I'm just going to stick with what I know, and that's Zoom and Meet, especially focusing again on Zoom. Zoom, you can change your name, or you can allow the students to change their names at any time, and this can be very helpful, of course. You know, they can change to say, oh, I can't use my camera, or why my Wi-Fi is weak, or we can see that Yuko is on the train and they can't speak, but they can listen, and hopefully they're paying attention well. We can see that Riku's in the classroom, but also in the Zoom. Many, many, many hyflex classes, they're in the Zoom, but also in the classroom. They could be doing this for a few reasons. They could be doing this for the work, group work, pair work. They could be participating in chats to the other students online and in the classroom. But also some of the students like to record the lesson. They like to record the slides, and they will be in the classroom, but they continue to record the whiteboard or take screenshots of the whiteboard. And that's okay with me. I don't have a problem with that. Another thing, you know, it's always best, of course, to say, how should I call you to students at the very beginning. But the Zoom feature of being able to change your name, it really is, it's helpful for those whose parents are going through a divorce. Maybe they're adopted and they have a different name, or lots of different reasons they would have a different name than what is registered in the computer system at school. You know, both of us have had transgender students. And, you know, of course, there's a trend in this United States towards going and saying what your pronouns are. And we might see that coming into Japan soon. So mixing the online and classroom students is, I think, a useful skill to increase engagement in a hyflex class, because a lot of times we keep all the online students together and we keep all the classroom students together, but I really want them to build friendships with everybody, not just that little online class or online group in the classroom group. I want them to really mix together a lot. And so I will use this lovely little feature, let participants choose room. I think that's a very, very useful feature. So what I will do is I'll have them label themselves as either online or in the classroom, let them choose the room, and then, you know, I'll make some kind of rule about, you know, each breakout room can only have one online student and two classroom students, or some other rule, because that helps that when they work in pairs or groups, it runs so much more smoothly when the students know where to go. You don't want them kind of like, doshio. So a lot of times I will put them in pairs or a group of three initially. And then I will say, okay, this is your first group. I'm going to say change partners. All right. So the people who change partners are going to be Haruka, Otoha, Naho, Emily, Kotone, Hana, Hanano, and Ami. Okay. So when I say change partners, Haruka, you're going to go to group 2, Otoha, you're going to go to group 3, and so on and so on. And then Ami, you're going to come up here to group 1. Moemi, you're the group of 3, so you can go wherever you want. Just make sure that you have a different partner than you had last time. Okay. And this is a really, 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 really powerful tool, because the students work best in very small pairs. They want to meet each other, right? They want to communicate, and they want to communicate in English. Also, repeating the same thing to several different partners really builds fluency. A lot of us have done that exercise where, you know, we give them 3 minutes to talk about a topic, and then the next partner, you get 2 minutes to talk about it. And then the next partner, you get 1 minute to talk about it. And they try to say the same thing more fluently, more briefly, more practiced, right? It's really, really useful. Another thing you can do is put them alone in a breakout room. And that's something that I don't know anybody else who has done, but I do it all the time. Mostly I do it for something like a test. Normally in a test, the teacher will be, watching over the student very carefully. Well, we can do this online by putting the student alone in a breakout room, having them share their whole screen in the breakout room. So only the student can, only the teacher can see that. As soon as I come into the breakout room, I can see the whole screen and I can see the student's eyes. I can see that they're probably not cheating for this time, right? And because I can come in so suddenly, I think that there is a certain amount of fear that I'm going to come in, that they're not going to be, just opening DeepL or anything else. So it just makes it feel a little bit more fair, and they're going to be a little bit more on the straight and narrow about what they're trying to do. You do have to tell them beforehand that you are going to do this, so that they can clean up their desktop from anything that you're not supposed to see. You can also use this for helping them with their writing on a more positive note. I do this in my writing class all the time, especially towards the end where we're doing some editing. I will either put them in groups of 1 or group of 2 if they're going to do peer editing. And as soon as I get to the group, I can see what they're working on and I can talk to them privately, right? Or I can listen to the one student advising the other student about the peer editing that they're doing. But these groups of 1 is very, very useful, especially when students have questions. They don't want to ask it in front of the whole class. They'll just hit ask for help. I'll come to the room and I'll be able to talk to them and I'll be able to see the problem immediately. Very, very efficient way to help students with their editing and so on. Another opportunity for expression that maybe you hadn't thought of is taking attendance. Normally we're just taking down names, but when you're in a hyflex situation, it's varying who is where. And so the best way, of course, is to take it online. Remember that 1 question quiz I was talking about before? Well, this is what it looks like. I just take attendance every week with a 1 question quiz. That question quiz might be something like, did you register for the TOEIC? Or just, how are you today? Or it might be something more nuts and bolts, like, what are the 3 parts of a waltz in the writing lesson, right? So we can ask all kinds of different things, but that taking attendance is also a way that they can give me some feedback. I'm sick today or something like that. I often hear some comment from them, and that's really, really important, especially for the online students that I can't necessarily see. Yeah, you're not doing too well, right? So you can also do this in the Zoom. You can have them write their names in the Zoom. I usually have them write their names at the very beginning. And the reason why I have them write their names generally in the beginning is because the way that I use my Excel, this Excel spreadsheet is kind of cool, I think. And basically what it does is this 1 or 0 says, I found this and this together, right? I found Thomas and Jefferson together in the same entry, right? That's what this Excel spreadsheet is doing. Here it's looking for Thomas Jefferson, and here it's looking for Jefferson Thomas. It did not happen. In the case of John Tyler, he wrote his name as Tyler John, and therefore this found John Tyler, this found Tyler John, right? So these 2 columns are looking for entries by those people, and it'll tell me, some information that they have said. For example, Thomas Jefferson wants me to forget about the fact that he has slaves. James Madison wants me to know that Dolly is there too with her ice cream. Wonderful, wonderful. So happy to have them in here. But we can have some self-expression by just asking them, please write your name and any comment that you have. And if that's private to me, you know what? It also shows up here. So I can see any of those private messages in here that says, okay, they're here and they're sick or something like that. And over time, they'll understand. First lesson, I show them how this sheet works so that they know to spell their name correctly. But also that invites them to give some feedback and also some kind of expression, right? Also, I use 1s and 0s because obviously, if I want to check how many students are in the classroom and how many students are online, boom, I can just add Excel, add this together, and oh, I can see I have 18 students here. Oh, I have 6 online. I have 12 in the classroom. Okay, looks like everybody is accounted for in the attendance sheet. Also, by using numbers, if I, on the attendance sheet, I'll have, 111100111. I'll be able to add all those up. I'll say, oh, he attended 14 times. That means he has 6 absences. George Washington, come on, get with it, right? So anyway, if you want a low-tech solution for hybrid hyflex classes, just use name tense. It's a good way for you to know people's names because I forget names. Just put the name tense of the students who are online next to your computer. As soon as the bell rings, I take the name tense that aren't, they don't have a student in front of them. Those are my late and absent students. Super low tech, super easy, not as expressive as using the online tools, but sometimes people just like low tech. Kind of a fun little trick. I sometimes do this as a neat little trick. It's just Zoom's anonymous mode. What you do is you have everybody change their name to 1, the number 1. I start with myself and then I have everybody else change their names to number 1. And then I ask them, okay, so let's do a little practice. Everybody ask me, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Which one of these kitties likes milk? Well, of course, they all like milk, right? Because they're kitties. But we can have a little bit of fun doing this. We can ask a lot of interesting questions, and the students don't have to be embarrassed. You can get some legitimate feedback. You can ask, have you enjoyed this class? And they can also give you private messages with their name as 1 so that you wouldn't be able to know exactly what's going on. There is one trick to this, and that is you have to go to the security tab and hide the profile photos. If you don't do that, then you will have a case where the profile pictures will be next to their entries, and we're going to see something like, this might be Haruka and this might be Ami or something like that. So we don't want to have that. We want to hide those profile photos so that we only see 11111. Right. And another thing, we have to make sure to do this at the end. This is kind of an important point. If they change their names back, then the entries in the chat before the names will also be changed back to what they were before. So we don't want to have any of that anonymous stuff kind of openly outed, right? So doxed, we don't want to have them doxed. So I do this at the end and, tell them, change it back at another time. I don't want to have that chat change, but be very open with them about that so that, we're not, getting into any trouble here. So anyway, final thoughts, Sachiko, is hyflex better than classroom learning?
I think for most students, face-to-face is better in terms of their classmates are right there. But for, like we said, underserved communities or emergency situations, hyflex provides students with an opportunity to continue their education or start an education. And we talked about a university setting today, but for example, continuing ed programs, if they had hyflex, working parents who have children and can't find childcare, they can attend classes. So I think it is better for certain students. And is hyflex here to stay? I think it is. There's so many benefits that it offers, and the more teachers get used to it, the better the quality of hyflex lessons. So I think it is here to stay.
At the colloquium yesterday, actually, I was talking with somebody, and they said that their university, one of the professors retired and moved to Akita, but they were unable to find a replacement for him in his department. But because of the pandemic, everything went online, and they said, hey, would you be able to teach this class if it were online? And he said, yes. So we might see not only the students helped by this technology, but some of the professors and some of the older professors who don't want to commute through Tokyo or whatever, they want to be living in the countryside in Akita. Sounds pretty nice to me. We might see greater retention of the better professors as well through this system. We'll see. But my big message here is to use the technology at the expected pace. I use a fax machine as the image here because many of us, the foreigners coming to Japan, I had not seen a fax machine since the 80s until I came to Japan. And, I was thinking, well, we've had email, since I was, way back in 95, I had an email address. Why do we even have a fax machine here? This is a part of Japanese culture that foreigners don't understand. For me, I feel like this is just a way where I felt so disappointed that Japan is not embracing the modern technology of email, right? So use that technology at the expected pace. And remember, the expected pace is not your boss's expectation so much as the student's expectation. Now we're going probably into the third year of the pandemic. That means that those high school students who are coming into our university, over half of their academic life that they just experienced, over half of their high school life was either hyflex or fully online. And so they have certain expectations for how a class is going to be conducted. And if we are not meeting those expectations, if we are more low tech than their high school, then there could be some real disappointment there. So just make sure you don't have to be, cutting edge technology, but you just have to be at least as good as the school that they just came from, right? So that's what we're looking for, as far as I can tell. Here's our contact information down there. There is a link at my kind of defunct blog where you can get that attendance sheet where if you put in the Zoom chat into the colored box, it will automatically take your attendance for you. Super helpful tool. And I hope that all of you can find some way, some advice or some tool that we gave you in this lecture.
Well, thank you very much for your attention. We hope it was very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.